Welcome to the Brain Alpha. Today, we are bringing you a full, deep dive explainer on how modern digital distractions are quite literally stealing your potential. I mean, just look around you, or even just look at your own daily habits for a second. We're living in an era where our attention is constantly being hijacked, and honestly, getting anything meaningful done feels harder than ever before. But today, we're going to change that. We are unpacking a totally radical lifestyle reset that top creators and high achievers like the massive YouTube influencer Prince Iya are using to completely rewrite their lives. It's called monk mode. Okay, let's dive into this.
So the absolutely crucial question we have to start with is, why do we always fail to focus? Seriously, be honest with yourself for a minute. How often do you wake up with the absolute best intentions? You've got this perfectly crafted to-do list, a goal to finally start that business or get in shape, only to end the day totally distracted, having spent hours just mindlessly scrolling through endless content? Why does this happen to almost 99% of us? Well, the crazy truth is your lack of focus isn't an accident. Your brain is actually working against you right now, and it all comes down to a fundamental, hardwired human fear of boredom.
There's a, frankly, terrifying study from the University of Virginia that perfectly illustrates just how deep that fear really goes. 67%. Let me break this experiment down for you. Researchers took subjects and placed them completely alone in an empty room for just 15 minutes. There were no phones, absolutely no books, zero distractions. The only thing in the room was a button, and if they pressed that button, it would deliver a painful electric shock. Now, before the experiment, people explicitly said they would literally pay money to avoid this level of shock. But faced with this 15 minutes of pure boredom, an astounding 67% of the men in the study actively chose to physically shock themselves rather than just sit there alone with their own thoughts.
But wait, the most staggering detail of this entire study, 190. During that exact same 15-minute window, one single man pressed the shock button 190 times. Just think about what that actually proves. Our brains are absolutely, completely desperate for stimulation. We are biologically wired to crave inputs, to the point where we will willingly accept actual physical pain over the feeling of being understimulated. And trust me, in the modern world, tech giants know this, and they exploit it flawlessly.
That brings us to our roadmap to counter this biological trap. Here's the structured playbook we're going to use in this explainer to reclaim our attention. We'll start with the war on attention, define exactly what monk mode is, and then break down its three core pillars: the mind, the body, and the soul. Finally, we'll cover the 66-day rewire. Let's get to work.
Section 1. The war on attention. You have to realize right now that the attention economy is literal theft. Every app on your phone, every social media feed, every streaming platform, they're all engineered by thousands of the smartest people on the planet for one single purpose: to steal your focus. Why? Because your focus is their currency. Minute by minute, they are turning your attention into their advertising dollars. The saying is totally true. If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product. To them, your hijacked attention is just money in their pockets.
Section 2. What is monk mode? So if your attention is being stolen from you daily, you need an aggressive, uncompromising strategy to take that stolen currency back and reinvest it into yourself. Enter monk mode. This is a dedicated period of isolation and strict discipline. The whole goal here is to return your focus to its baseline natural state, which then allows you to achieve your personal and professional goals at an absolutely overwhelming speed. I want you to think of this as the ultimate training montage in a movie. You know the ones. It's that critical period where the protagonist completely disappears, puts in the brutal, unseen work, and then emerges entirely transformed and ready to reach that next level of success.
Let's move right into Section 3, Pillar 1, the mind. Listen, your mind is exactly like a high-performance machine. The quality of what goes into it directly dictates the quality of what comes out. If you're constantly feeding it junk information, useless drama, and an endless stream of short-form videos, well, your output is going to be scattered and low quality. To operate at a genius level, we have to aggressively filter our inputs.
Here are the 3 very specific rules for detoxing your mind during monk mode. Step 1, distance yourself from friends. Step 2, ban social media. Step 3, read 1 book a month. Now I know, distancing yourself from friends might sound a little harsh at first, but let's look at why this is mathematically necessary for your growth.
You've probably heard the classic rule: you are the average of the 5 people around you. It's an undeniable reality. As humans, we are incredibly susceptible to the environments and the people surrounding us. If you want extraordinary results, you simply cannot spend all your time doing ordinary things with people who are perfectly content with average results. Taking solitary time is a proven strategy. Even Bill Gates, at the absolute height of running Microsoft, would take solitary retreats. He'd lock himself in a cabin for days just to read, think, and strategize. You desperately need that space to grow.
And to protect that mental space, you must implement physical barriers. You cannot out-willpower social media algorithms. They are literally designed to bypass your logical brain. So you have to build physical friction. Uninstall dopamine-heavy apps like TikTok immediately. If you need to focus, keep your phone in an entirely different room or buried in a bag. And if you absolutely positively must check social media, use the PC-only rule. You can only log in from a clunky desktop browser at night. By adding all these annoying extra steps, your brain will naturally decide that mindlessly scrolling just isn't worth the effort anymore.
Section 4. Pillar 2. The body. Now that the mind is cleared, we have to look at your physical state. I want you to think of your body beautifully, simply, as a vehicle. You can have the greatest driver in the world, a razor-sharp mind, but if the car itself is broken down, out of gas, and falling apart, you are not going to win the race.
And the fuel you put in that vehicle? It's everything. Think about the stark contrast here. Processed junk food directly causes systemic inflammation, severe brain fog, and chronic lethargy. It violently spikes your dopamine and then drops it, leaving you totally unmotivated. On the flip side, natural, single-ingredient foods are what actually fuel high performance, giving you the sustained high energy you need to focus for hours on end.
So, what are your non-negotiable physical requirements during monk mode? First, drink 2 liters of water daily. But make sure to add electrolytes. Just a pinch of sea salt or Himalayan pink salt will do, so your body actually absorbs it. Eat natural, unprocessed foods. For instance, having a couple of eggs a day is eating a fantastic, nutrient-dense superfood. Next, get outside and walk 8,000 to 10,000 steps daily. And finally, lift weights 3 to 5 times a week. Listen, during monk mode, when you completely remove social media, going out, and junk food, intense physical exercise becomes absolutely critical. It is going to be your primary stress release. If you skip the workouts, the pressure will just build up, and eventually you'll snap and break your focus.
And here is a totally fascinating life hack related to that exercise. 3 hours. Science shows us that the 3 hours immediately following a tough workout serve as a golden window for peak concentration. Your brain is flooded with high-quality dopamine and adrenaline from all that physical exertion. If you sit down to do your deep work during this specific 3-hour window, you'll experience a level of laser focus and mental clarity that is completely unparalleled. Use this window to your advantage.
Section 5 brings us to Pillar 3, the soul. This is the final and honestly, perhaps the most overlooked part of this whole framework. You can fix your focus, right? You can build massive material wealth. But doing all of that without cultivating mental and spiritual peace will only lead to endless anxiety. You'll just wind up being a very rich, highly productive person who is constantly stressed out and completely unable to sleep at night.
To really prove how vital this inner stillness is to the world's absolute highest achievers, consider this incredibly powerful anecdote. When Apple founder Steve Jobs passed away, he arranged for a very specific gift to be handed out to every single person who attended his funeral. It wasn't some new Apple product or a cutthroat business manual. It was a book on spiritual discipline called Autobiography of a Yogi. Think about that. Even one of the greatest tech visionaries in human history understood that dominating the external world requires mastering your internal world first.
So how exactly do we train the soul? We do it through this incredibly simple daily practice. Step 1, find a quiet place. Step 2, sit down and close your eyes. Step 3, focus purely on your breathing for just 10 minutes a day. Now, your mind is going to wander. That is perfectly normal. But here's the magic. Every single time you catch your mind drifting and you deliberately pull your focus back to your breath, you are doing a rep. It is a literal workout for your emotional control. Over time, this trains you to not be derailed by the random stress or negative emotions throughout your day, keeping you firmly in the driver's seat of your own life.
Section 6, the 66-day rewire. Okay, so we have the playbook down. Mind, body, and soul. Now let's talk about the execution and the actual timeline. How long do you really need to isolate yourself and practice these intense disciplines to see a permanent change?
Well, the science of habit formation is incredibly revealing here. Research shows that 18 days is the absolute minimum time required to build a new habit.
For some more complex individuals or really tough habits, it can take way up to 254 days. But the scientifically proven average time it takes for your brain's neural pathways to fully rewire themselves is exactly 66 days. That is the sweet spot. If you can truly commit to this monk mode framework for roughly 2 months, you aren't just changing your daily routine, you are physically altering the circuitry of your brain to default to high performance and deep focus. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I leave you with this final provocative question. Are you ready to reclaim your stolen attention? You now know exactly how the modern world is actively designed to keep you distracted, weak, and constantly consuming. But more importantly, you also hold the blueprint to break right out of that trap. It's time to stop letting algorithms dictate your potential. I challenge you to apply this monk mode playbook starting today and radically reset the trajectory of your entire life.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and help us build the hype. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.